It's funny because when you hear about people saying that all he does is win jump balls and win contested catch situations, did you not see what just happened here? And let's go ahead and run it back. I'll actually let it play through. London creates about 7 yards of separation, but his quarterback isn't able to get him the ball in a catchable space. But it also shows his good body, his good adjustment to the ball. That's kind of what separates him and what makes him one of the better receivers in the game is because he can separate, but also when it comes to being able to catch in traffic, being able to concentrate, being able to leap over defenders and have that timing to attack the ball at its highest point, who's better? You have to ask that question. Coming out, he's one of the best at doing it. What's going on, y'all? This is Mual, your host of the Trap or Die podcast, and I'm just here to tell you, man, while you're here, if you're new, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow us, man, as we continue to push out this content and create some things for the Washington Commanders and the NFL, man. But mainly the Commanders. This is a Washington channel. I want everybody to be involved. I want everybody to catch these live streams weekly. I want everybody to be a part of this growth that we got going on over here, man. So if you're here, if you're new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you stay tuned, man, for much more content, fire content, and as we keep things pushing, man. So yeah, get to it. We appreciate it. All that good stuff. Peace. What's going on, y'all? This is Molly Mual, Jamal, Hand Dog Mual, Coach Mual, all that good stuff. Your host of the Chop or Die podcast. And we're here to break down some film, man. This is another Chop or Die film session provided to you by 214 Media. We are here to break down some Drake London film. USC wide receiver, 6'4", 219, man. And there's some controversy behind his name, at least within the Washington community. And I'm sure if it's in the Washington community, other receivers, other teams in the NFL who needs a receiver, their fan base is probably having some of the same skepticisms behind his name. But what's true and what's not behind Drake London? What can we expect out of Drake London in the NFL? What does he do well? How can he beat NFL defenders? How can he win in one-on-one situations? What makes him stand out? What makes him a top prospect coming out of the draft already as is? We're going to get all into it. The good, the bad, why he will succeed and why he won't succeed in the NFL. Let's get to it. Drake London film session starts right now. All right, y'all. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is his separation ability. Obviously, and I want to start off with this thing, right? There's a stigma that exists with big cornerbacks, big receivers, and big athletes at skill positions, man, saying that, they're only good for one thing. Either they're all physical, they have leaping ability, and there's nothing else in their game except for physicality because they're big at the skill positions. And for me, when you talk about Drake London and you talk about his ability to maneuver as a receiver on multiple levels of the field, his ability to separate, his route running ability, all those things, that is where the confusion lies. And I feel like that stigma has followed Drake London unintentionally, but, just naturally. And it's important for people to just do their homework, do their research on Drake London. Who exactly is he and what does he bring to the table for an NFL offense? And let's go ahead and get started with the separation ability. Let's go ahead and figure out how good is he on multiple levels of the field. And on this, you'll see that he's not always catching passes in a contested situation. He's also not only getting the ball in contested catching situation. Like when he's open, sometimes he doesn't even get the ball. When he creates separation, sometimes he doesn't get the ball. And that's obvious when it comes to receivers, but when you look at the highlights and the TV copy, that is where you come into problems and you come into question marks about a player's athletic ability and their skill set at the position that they play. So here we go. First play, I'll let it run and we'll run it back. Open, doesn't get the ball. His quarterback tries to take off. Terrible mistake. But if we go back to the top, you'll see the separation part, right? All right, so here we go. He's in a press situation, facing a press man cornerback. The safety over top of him is crashing, going down towards the line of scrimmage. So it becomes a one-on-one, a true one-on-one situation with the single high safety right over here playing over top of the three defensive backs on the field side of the offense. And the defense. So it's a true one-on-one situation here. We started. The very first thing is he takes a skip step all the way up, eating up I was gonna say a little bit of space, but he eats up plenty space to where it gets the defender to commit to the fade route. And at the very top, he gets a double move, a double step to break back in on the slant. And what you see right here is also the foot speed, or the initial quickness, excuse me, because we're going to talk about foot speed later. The initial quickness at the top of his route, at the break point, to get inside, but also the mental processing to sell that outside release, to sell that fade, to break it back inside. And as you see right here, how do I move that picture in picture? I don't want that. But as you see right here, he creates the separation. He wins at this moment, but he doesn't get the ball. At its peak, you have about 3 to 4 yards of separation right here that he doesn't get when he doesn't get the ball. As we continue going forward, we'll run this one back. Now, this is a bad look in terms of his hands. And for context purposes, this game against Washington State was a rainy day. And for those who want to notate that and add question marks to his game, I'm not here to fight you. I notated it myself in terms of rainy games and can he be counted on in this. Now, he did end up with 9, 10 catches, something like that. But at the end of the day, he had like 2 or 3 drops against Washington State. So it's notable in the sense that if you're having a weather day and a weather game, he's going to have to try to find a workaround to secure some tough passes. But here we go. Let's go ahead. Again, he is facing a cornerback with inside leverage. This is a soft press situation, maybe even a squat. I don't know exactly what the DB is doing, but he's about 4 or 5 yards off of London at this point. But he's playing an inside shade. So when he's playing an inside shade and Drake London knows that he's running a slant, he has to find a way to cross the DB's face. And to cross the DB's face, he has another double move at the break point. And at that point, with the double move, he opens up the DB's hips already. Already opens the DB's hips up. The DB is not square, and he has a two-way go if he wanted to, but the DB is committing to the fade, to the outside release, to the boundary. And boom, able to cross face, able to use a clear move, a hand move that gets him away from number 0. I think that's number 0. To clear himself from the jam and get open. Again, at its peak, that's about 3-4 yards of separation. He actually gets the ball this time, but he drops it. Here we go. I think this is an example. Now, I've showed you two in which he uses athleticism and mental processing in his route setup, his break point setup, his separation to create separation. But he also is physical at the line he's also physical at the break point. Excuse me. So here's an example of that and what it looks like, and we'll run it back. And as you saw, let's go ahead and run this back a little bit. Facing another soft press situation, man on man. Clean release at the line of scrimmage. Nothing there. Accelerates, is able to accelerate, and the cornerback gets hands on him. But it doesn't matter because London is playing physical as well, and he matches the DB's physicality and even overcomes and overtakes the physicality, being able to separate at that moment. And you saw the hand with the inside leverage, or the inside hand, being able to create that additional separation at the break point. So as we continue, and this is something like that I feel like is important to share for everybody, because everybody doesn't know everything. And I realize that I said break point a couple times, and I don't want to, like, again, it's basic knowledge to a sense, but you got to start somewhere. And I just want to be fair to everybody who may not know what exactly is going on. And as I continue to learn and take this film stuff more serious, I'll share what I know. And when we talk about route running, there's 4 components to the route running. There is the stance, the release, the stem, and the break point. Okay. I had to make sure nobody was emailing me, and nobody important was emailing me from work. But those 4 components is everything. And in the stance, you know what a stance is. It's traditional. It's important to have a proper stance. But The things that we're looking at in terms of what a receiver can do and what they can't do is their release, their stem, and their break point. And release is something that's clear off the line of scrimmage. How do you release? Are you capable of releasing? Are you capable of getting off of the press jam? Are you capable of eating up off zone, off man? Are you capable of being able to defeat a bail corner? Things like that. That's all important. And it's different ways to do it, but there's two fundamental ways to do it. If you're facing a press defender, whether it's soft press or actual press, you have to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. If you're facing people who are playing off ball or ended up playing bail, you have to be able to accelerate and close that DB cushion. So as we do that and we talk about the release, then you work on your stem. So let's go ahead and get into the actual film and go back to the tape itself, and you'll see what's going on right here. So he's open at the bottom, and I don't think I did an arrow to indicate who he was. So let me just go back and we'll see it again. All right, here we go. So right now you're seeing a jerk stem, and let's go back one more time. Let's go back to the actual, my notes as well so we can see it. Because obviously he's playing against Utah, a good opponent in the Pac-12. Let's see. All right, there we go. So a jerk stem is essentially selling like a particular move that you're indicating. So for example, if you're running a corner, you want to sell like you're running a post in your stem. Like that's kind of what the whole thing is. So it's looking like you're stemming for a post, but you're breaking out for a corner. If you're selling if you're running a post, you want to sell that corner route. And for London right here, he's selling a fade. And while he's running a fade, he's running a fade, but he's selling an outbreaking route, like a speed out, or maybe just a curl or something like that. And then he breaks inside, and that's how you get separation. That's how you get your leverage to be used against them, or the DB's leverage to be used against them. So let's get running back. Another way he separates through his mental processing and obviously knowing how to work certain stems and things like that. Separation. Here we go again. He's facing an off coverage defender, and I think this one is zone coverage, but we're going to run it and then go right back. So it's a cover two man. Excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and run it back. So again, when you're playing against off coverage, it's important for you to accelerate, eat up the cushion, and Drake London has the ability to do that. He does that often, being able to accelerate against off coverage and eat up the cushion, make the DBs uncomfortable, challenge their technique, and compromise their technique, have their leverage used against them. So right now, the important part for him, and what you're seeing while he is running a corner post, he has to attack the defender's outside shoulder. This shoulder right here is important because it compromises his leverage. And if Drake London sails this corner route or this out route effectively, it turns the DB's hips. So he's attacking his blind spot. So the DB has to, he doesn't have to. If he believes that it's going to be a post corner, he's going to continue going upfield and sitting on that double move. But Drake London does a good job compromising the DB, selling that corner. And he has a good change of direction at the top of the route. Very good change of direction with the break point to break it back. Continue accelerating upfield, creating that distance. And now it's funny because when you hear about people saying that all he does is win jump balls and win contested catch situations, did you not see what just happened here? And let's go ahead and run it back. I'll actually let it play through. London creates about 7 yards of separation, but his quarterback isn't able to get him the ball in a catchable space. But it also shows his good body, his good adjustment to the ball, his ability to leap and attack the ball over a defender who's clearly coming down to defend and break it up, but it's a good contested catch situation. And that's kind of what separates him and what makes him one of the better receivers in the game is because he can separate, but also when it comes to being able to catch in traffic, being able to concentrate, being able to leap over defenders and have that timing to attack the ball at its highest point, who's better? You have to ask that question. Coming out, he's one of the best at doing it. He's able to catch the ball, hold on to it on contact, and also maintain it when he hits the ground as well. Again, you saw what just happened. He won downfield with separation, with mental processing, and all of those things, and he's able to win downfield. And if he has a quarterback who can hit him in stride, you're not going to always see him having to fight for the ball over a defender. Here, slant route. Similar to one of the first plays we looked at, opening up the DB's hips. He's very good at it. This is a different opponent. Opening up the DB's hips, has good change of direction, being able to sink his hips right there at the break point and get inside that defender to cross his face. Has the strong hands, and you saw that subtle acceleration to turn the pass or the catch upfield simultaneously as catching the ball. So you'll see it again, and it's subtle. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not that good with words, but once he sinks his hip, you'll see him slightly accelerate to get upfield in the moment of catching the pass as well. Gain some additional yards for the offense. Here, let's go ahead and run it back, or let me rewind it. We didn't run it back yet. Okay, so here, another situation in which he's creating separation in the short area of the field, right? You're facing press man again. The DB is playing closer towards the single high is playing closer towards the boundary side. So the field side is wide open. This is a true man-to-man coverage. The inside defender, the slot corner, is playing anything out right up here. That's what he's playing. He's defending that. He's trying to funnel this receiver to his safety. Anything else out here, he has on lock. And this is true man-to-man coverage. So Drake London has to win underneath, and he does that very well. And you saw that stutter and that subtle skip with a double move at the top at the break point. That's what you're seeing right there. The defender tries to jam with his inside shoulder, but he's high. He misses the chest and tries to hit his helmet, but he also is not stopping Drake London at all at his break point. So with quick feet, good initial quickness, being able to get inside that defender using an outside release and breaking inward, he's able to manipulate the defender's hips, break inside for the slant, but he's not done here, right? So as he's breaking for a slant, before he even gets to that point, he's still in the process of breaking his defender down. He's selling vertical. So this route, as it stands right here, looks like he's going up. This is the stem that it looks like. However, remember, it's a slant, so he's breaking actually back in. So what he's doing still right here is all a mental game. He's still selling one route before he breaks into his slant. So what does this do? At its peak, he has about 4 or 5 yards of separation right here. That's what you're seeing. Catches the ball with nobody around him. Able to cut up field and gain additional yards. I think that's about 18, 19 yards that he gained, all from creating that type of separation in man coverage. Here, let's see what we got. You saw that right there, but also, boom. So, again, because this is about his separation, the release is clean, and it's all part of being able to separate, right? But what we're focusing on, clearly you're saying he's able to be able to get off press coverage. He's not even touched here at the line. A true double move, taking an inside release. The defender's already beat. Like right now, his defender is beat because he's having to turn around in a full circle. So what does that do? That creates leverage for Drake London as he goes into his stem. And the stem is right before the break point. So when we talk about stem, it's how you run your route. If you're running a post, off an inside release, you have to get back into your line that you're supposed to run. You don't want to stray too far away from the line, whether it's good or bad. Like, you don't want to, like, within the offense, you just want to make sure you maintain that line, and that line in which you're running before you break for that in breaking for the post, or that out breaking for the corner, or that in breaking for the slant, uh, out breaking for the curl, whatever it is. You have to get back on that line before you get to that break point. So again, he's running a curl or a comeback in a sense. He gets on his inside release. Now he knows that the defender is just running with him. He doesn't really have technique. He's just in a full sprint mode. So what do you do when you know that you have the leverage? Attack that blind spot. We talked about that already. Don't need to repeat it again, but he attacks the blind spot, and he knows that he has him beat. But he also knows that he's running a comeback to the sticks right there. So he has him beat right here. Good change of direction once again, able to sink his hips and come back with good feet. He's open. Quarterback, does not throw it to him. So this is a good example of play strength in his route running, and being able to create separation off that. Same cornerback, he is turned around again. Cornerback actually wins on his press. Like, he's pushing him inside. Cornerback is winning right now. But that's where Drake London is able to counter. Right there. Has the strength to get that DB off of him. Now he's off of him. Now he's attacking the blind spot. Talked about that. Now he's breaking back in. You'll see it. That's where the separation comes from. So again, on his individual responsibility, because there is a single high up there, the quarterback isn't going to throw it to him. Even though the ball is out right now, he technically could have, but in reality, especially in the NFL as well, he wins on his route, but the safety also has a job to do, and he has it covered. So he creates that separation, doesn't get the ball thrown to him. There you go, separation, 2 yards again. So you've seen him be able to separate on multiple areas of the field, short, intermediate, deep. And I think the important thing of this, and I'll let this play out as we transition to the next phase of his game, is that when you watch the TV copy and not seeing things from a bird's eye view, it kind of taints your picture of a person, because all you see is one thing. You don't see the whole component of what makes him good. And what that means for Drake London is, while you're a big receiver, a big body receiver, 6'4", 219, he's also has the capability of separating on all areas of the field. And if you could separate, it doesn't matter how big you are, right, in terms of your size. But if you can out-leap somebody too with a bad ball, and you have excellent ball skills, which we will be getting into soon. Matter of fact, I think we're getting into that next. When you have those things, it becomes and you become a much more difficult opponent for your defense. All right, so here we go with ball skills. And so when I show you all the issues that I come across with Drake London, it'll be less explained in those videos, because you'll see some of the issues pop up here and what makes him stand out, right? And that's his foot speed. Now, there's a difference between being quick, being explosive, having mobility and fluidity. But if you don't have the foot speed, that's one thing. If you can't separate downfield because you're not fast enough, that's one thing to your game, right? But can you do other things well? Can you overcome the lack of foot speed to separate downfield? And we've showed you the tools that he has in his release and his mental processing to set DBs up. But you're not going to be able to see the foot speed to truly separate downfield. And you see that part right there. He wins again with his release and with his stem, but he's not able to separate. But he has the ball skills right there to catch in traffic, have that concentration, knowing that there's a safety coming over the top, catching over his DB. The DB, makes it play, gains the yards. Here, not creating much separation, but has the strength, the hand strength, the focus, the separation, the strength, the focus, and the sideline awareness as he adjusts to the ball to make that play over the DB. That's play strength right there. That's competitive toughness. I'm not letting you grab that goddamn ball. I'm not letting you break this pass up. Here, this is a very smart play from London. Let's go ahead and run this back. So this is a pick six. If it's not for Drake London, this is pick six. DB's breaking on the ball already, but this is an elite awareness play. This is elite competitive toughness, being able to attack the ball in a situation where you know if you don't get it, it's an interception. So what does he do? He breaks off his slant, comes back to the ball like he's supposed to, like true wide receivers are supposed to, comes back, catches it in traffic, scores. This is a true look of what his separation skills looks like in terms of foot speed. He's not going to wow you with his foot speed downfield, right? Matter of fact, I did 10 seconds. I didn't even do all that. Let's go ahead and get back to that down. All right, so he's not going to wow you with his foot speed. Now let this play because it's two different angles. But you see this, being able to leap over the defender, make a play for his receiver. And these are some of the highlights that you see, right? But he separates, and we've shown that. But right here is important. Look how high he is off the ground over that DB as he makes a play on the ball. He's jumping and trying to catch the ball at its highest point, somewhere where the DB can't even get. The DB's feet is on the ground. He hasn't even left yet. The DB hasn't even left yet, and Drake London is off the ground. Catching the ball at its highest point, has strong hands, elite adjustment to the ball, and the concentration and toughness to land straight on his back, on his hip, maintain possession, big play, 1st and 20, mind you. And they get all the way down to the 1 yard line, a gain of 28, throwing the ball up to Drake London. Another one, fade, and it's two different angles, so I'll let this one play as well. At the catch point, that's elite. Being able to separate at the last second with good play strength, being able to fight off that defender, maintain your balance, and adjust to the ball before you're falling down and stuff. That is elite. That is very important. That is something that you need from a receiver, being able to find ways to the ball, that competitive toughness to fight through DBs and not give up on a play. That's what you need. And let's go ahead and run this through the other angle. And these are the highlights that you see from Drake London when people post them on YouTube and Twitter and things like that. But they're not showing you. They're not showing you the other stuff. Elite concentration. Ball's going down. It's a low pass. Well inside. The adjustment is incredible. Something that scouts are looking at. Here, now this is important because he truly actually wins this route, but he runs into the defender right there. So I'm gonna let it play out after I explain everything to this point. And remember what I mentioned. When you're playing a DB who is off coverage, off zone, off man, one of those, the important thing is to eat up that cushion. And London does that. So the first step, the release, outside release, accelerate. Right there, the cushion is 8 because he's running a double move. So he could have ran a corner in 1 if he wanted to, because that DB's already uncomfortable. He could have ran a post right now and could have won. So what does he do? Sails the corner right there, attacks that outside shoulder, makes him commit. And the DB commits because he's accelerating. He doesn't have the technique. He doesn't have the right depth to maintain against Drake London. And that cushion is 8 up and blows past him. Unfortunately, they run into each other. So Drake, I don't know if it's his fault. It's really not. But they just run into each other. Things happen. But either way, if he gets past them cleanly, it's a touchdown. It's a walk-in touchdown from a professional quarterback. Here we've shown this already, the slant versus inside leverage. He's able to win that. Easy money, strong hands in traffic, things like that, right? And this is another way in which he has adjustment ability, attacking the blind spot of the cornerback and bail coverage, bail technique. Let's run it back one more time before we get to the yak. Oh, sorry, my bad. All right, so bail coverage. They're just facing eyes on the quarterback. London has to eat up that cushion, attack the blind spot. He's able to adjust to a low ball, Easy money. Now, before we get into the issues, we'll go ahead and get into the Yak. Not many plays from Yak. Uh, I didn't go too in depth, but I wanted to show you all how much of a difference maker he is with the ball in his hands as well. All right, so I'll just let this run, and we don't have to pause for anything. But Drake, elusive, shifty for a 6'4" receiver, and Yak is all about making defenders miss. If you can make defenders miss, it boosts your stock in terms of being able to get these screens. And you see what he's doing. Like, these are screens. The first two plays, they were screens. This one is a different situation. He has the ball with separation, able to make multiple defenders miss, has the vision to use his blockers, utilize his blockers to get upfield. He does this often, and it's a reason why they use him in the screen game as a 6'4" receiver. The leaping ability is right there. He has the strength, the physical strength to lower his shoulder if he needs to get those extra yards. He has a ton of things in his toolbox, again, that makes him a top 20 receiver. So take all these things into account when you're talking about why this guy's a top 20 pick or why this guy's a first round pick. He's a bona fide first round pick, and that's important to know. So there's a ton of things outside of foot speed and and winning jump balls. I've never seen a group of people complain about a receiver winning jump balls. I've never seen it. So let's go ahead and get into the issues that we already talked about, right? So there's one more issue that we'll explain, but the main issue is the foot speed. People are complaining about it. I'll just let it run. And then the last issue I'll circle back to is a good example on the last play. But you'll see it. Foot issue, foot speed, being able to separate with true speed, that's not his thing. He's not going to be able to do that at the break point downfield. That's just something that he doesn't do, and has the capability of overcoming it, but that's just something that he doesn't do. This is the last play that I'll show you, and it's important because, again, when like I said, when I learn things, you'll learn things as well. I'm not no stingy guy with education. And if I'm wrong as well, I correct myself if I'm wrong. But I do know this. I do know this. Another thing that people probably didn't notice or realize how important it is for a quarterback. In the film that I watched, in the few games that I watched, Drake London had about 3 or 4 reps where he was not able to maintain the red line for a quarterback. And for people who don't know what the red line is, it's the imaginary line that receivers are taught from the coaches that they need to maintain between the boundary or the numbers, the field numbers right here, and the sideline right over here. So you want to maintain about 5 yards of distance between you, the DB, and that sideline because it allows the quarterback that margin of error for a sideline throw for you to be able to go and get it. You get that extra space. But what Drake London has done on a few occasions, he forgets where the red line is coming from. And for defenders, right, it's the defender's job to push you beyond that red line. It's the defender's job to get you as close to the sideline as possible. And that's what the red line means. And it's the receiver's job. Like, how do you if you ask yourself, how are you supposed to do it? This is where play strength comes in. Are you strong enough to maintain that red line? And Drake London has been inconsistent. I'm not going to say he can't do it, but it's something that you notice when you run those sideline fades and flies. Can he maintain that red line? Can you trust him in those instances, especially when he's on the boundary side? Or, excuse me, especially when he's on the field side, because that's where he's at right now. Can he maintain that red line? Because it's ample space out there for him. So it's important for him to maintain it and be like, look, this is a good example right here. Look how close he is to the sideline. He needed to be right around here, if not on the 10, and being able to adjust to this ball. But he's on the sideline. He didn't maintain the red line, and that happened on a few occasions. All right, so that wraps up the film session for Drake London, man. I hope you all were able to learn some things and picked up on what I picked up when it came to Drake, man. Drake is a very good player. He's starter potential, day one starter potential in any offense, really. and he can work the route tree. So vertical offenses. He came from an air raid system at USC, so it's important to note that. But this why is my mother calling me? I gotta call her back after this. But sorry about that. But this guy, I say like the perception around him kills me because defensive backs and receivers like him have a stigma that they're only capable of doing certain things, and when you don't look at the film or you find those reasons to stick to your narrative versus becoming objective and looking at things objectively, you're not able to really see the full picture and what a person can bring to your team. And even if Drake London didn't have the foot speed to win downfield, Washington could utilize him on the deep, intermediate, and short areas of the field. And you can get the ball in his hands at the line of scrimmage if you want him to make a play. He's elusive enough. He's athletic enough. He's physical enough to do a lot of things in the NFL. And at the line of scrimmage, he's a creative route runner. He's quick enough at the release to win at the break point and things like that. And when you don't take those things into consideration when you're evaluating a player, you're kind of eliminating the impact that he has on your offense. And for Washington, Drake London is a guy that you should definitely be taking into account in terms of an option if they go receiver round one. The only issue that he has right now is recovering from injury. Is he fully healthy? He fractured his right ankle, against the Arizona Wildcats in week 8. And trying to understand that aspect, like when is he going to be able to fully play? When is he going to be healthy? All those things, that's what you have to consider with Drake London moving forward, is the health side. Other than that, he is a day one starter and he's going to be an immediate impact to an offense. You can win with him. I don't know if you'll win because of him, but just because he played in the Pac-12 against DBs who people, I just say, don't respect. I don't have an opinion on DBs, but it's like the consensus is clearly they don't get enough respect. But just because you play against those guys, you shouldn't disregard the skill set that the receiver has, the running back has, the quarterback has, all those things. It's all about your tools. And he has a ton of tools in his toolbox that goes unnoticed because he can jump very high. And for the love of God, before I get out of here, can anybody explain to me why receivers are getting knocked for being able to jump high and attack the ball at its highest point? Are you nervous that there's another Josh Doctson? Did Josh Doctson, for Commanders fans, scar you that much? If you think about receivers around the league, if you're watching this and you're trying to just do your homework on Drake London because your team drafted him or they're looking to draft him, and you have an example of unsuccessful bigger receiver corners, big body receivers, if you have that stigma in your head as well because a certain receiver didn't work out for you all, are you that scarred? Look, open your eyes, do your research. The resources are there, but it's important for you to do it because you're getting a different player in Drake. Like that's just the matter of the facts here. He's not a stiff guy. He's athletic. He has strong hands. He's physical, and he's elusive. Like, he's a threat. So for me, again, I'll leave it with that. I just appreciate everybody watching. If you learned something, man, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you took away from this. If you have questions about Drake that I didn't answer specifically, like his blocking, which is really good. I didn't dive into his blocking in this film per se. Maybe if Washington drafts him, I can dive into it so we can have a more complete understanding of him. But his blocking is really good. His yak is really good. I didn't fully dive into that like I could. But if you want that well-rounded player, Drake London is your guy, and it's a reason why he's a number one option. It's a reason why he's a first-round draft pick prospect for the NFL. So with that being said, I'm out of here. And until next time, peace.